Back. Uh, you might be a little confused as to what exactly we're watching here, and that's okay. Sometimes confusion can be good. It gets you to look at things a little bit differently, and oftentimes forces you to make some predictions, and then you have a point of reference to come back to. But with all that being said, I just wanted to take a few minutes here and just talk to you about why do you need to take this class. And I'll be honest with you, depending on what class you're signed up for here, say it's our physics A, and you're at a spot where you're thinking, what am I ever going to use this for? Cash, this is ridiculous, and you're getting hung up and frustrated on the fact that you don't understand why this even needs to be done. And I can understand that, but I just want you to think about it a little bit differently for a second. If you're trying to find a direct application between Newton's second law and how you live out your next day, I get that that might not be a direct connection. Could you live a successful life without fully understanding linear motion? Sure, 100%. I got that. But with that being said, I want you to just kind of step back for a second and understand that if you're looking at everything to just be a direct application, this is the skill that you're going to use to get through Wednesday or whatever. You're kind of missing the bigger picture. And this is the way I would encourage you to look at it. Everything you're doing in school is like brain drills or brain exercise opportunities. And if you think about, you go to the gym, if I go to the gym this evening and I get in one workout and I come home and I claim, hey, that didn't work, I'm not buff, clearly I'm missing the big picture. It takes time and it takes repetition. And I bet you if I go back again, I'll be a little bit better and a little bit faster and a little bit smarter in the gym. And I might even see a little bit more results. And I bet you if I continue that trend, that those results will continue to increase. So if I go to the gym and I just sit on a bench and I'm staring at the clock and I don't understand why exercise should be important, I'm getting absolutely nothing out of it. If you're showing up to school and you're just sitting in a chair and you're just staring at your phone and you think that school is stupid, you're getting absolutely nothing out of it. Now, if you treat this as like a drill and you treat this as like an exercise, I guarantee you that if you keep hitting it, you're going to get better. You're going to get smarter. You're ultimately going to make better decisions. And you are a collection of your decisions. And here's a newsflash. If you consistently make bad decisions, you're probably in a bad place. So, a little picture here, right? Got a guy doing push ups. I used to be able, before I had kids, to coach football. And almost daily, I'd have kids do push ups in practice. Of all the decade I coached, of all the practices, of all the games, I can assure you that when we went out onto the field, under the lights, I never once had a kid do push ups on the field. So, why the heck would I have them do push ups in practice if we never did push ups in the game? Was that stupid? Well, you could probably make an argument for or against. I think most people would understand, well, no, you did the push ups because it made your kids stronger. And then when they went out to perform, they could do the actual task better. School's the same way. You're doing your little mental push ups with this activity or these activities or these subjects, and it's going to make you better when it's all said and done. Here's something else to consider. Maybe you find out that you just don't like certain classes. That's okay. Sometimes not knowing what you want to do, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. Sometimes knowing what you don't like is just as important as knowing what you do like. Because you start to kind of whittle down that list of, okay, well, I tried that. That wasn't for me. Let me move on. So, another thing I want you to think about is if you're exposed to, let's say you're in physics A, the way that you can pull information from that will allow you to make connections later in life. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to be a revolutionary change in your day, but I promise you that if you have the idea of like, oh, well, this moved like that, or this operates like this, or these laws govern this area, and then you start to make connections to other aspects of your life, you're going to get a lot further along when things are all said and done. And like I said before, this is exposure to something that perhaps you're not accustomed to, and that's okay. Maybe you think, wow, I had no idea I actually had an interest in that. Maybe I'm just planting some little seeds here with physics, and it turns out that down the road, those seeds turn into something, and you're like, man, I didn't get it then, but now it actually means something to me. Whatever you've taken from that, I promise you that you'll get out of this what you put into it. You put nothing into it, you'll get nothing out of it. You put something into it, you'll get something out of it. So there is something else that I want to kind of go through with you here. And I'm going to show you this. This is just a stat from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So you are in this class. Cash, why did I have to take this class? Don't like physics. Cute. Yet I'm doing push-ups. Bop, 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 bop. Okay, well, most of us understand that, you're going to at some point have to leave school, and you'll probably do one of two things, right? You'll go get more schooling for your eventual career, or you're going to just go out into the workforce. So let's say that you just kind of, say, well, if eventually I'm just going to go out and get a job, and I'm going to work for money. Why don't I just do that now? School's stupid. For whatever it's worth, I completely disagree with that. This is a chart. And I'm not saying that this means that this is destined for everybody or that you have to follow this. I'm just saying this is something you should be exposed to. So I would encourage you to read through this, if you want to pause and take a peek at this short little article. But I also just want to go through this graph with you real quickly. What we've got here is earnings, or median, your average, weekly earnings for people that are employed. And this is workers at the age of 25 and older. So obviously you want to be that top earner, right? Boop. If we take a look at this guy here, well, this is the solid purple line. That's an advanced degree. That's not a high school diploma. So what does that mean? Well, I don't know just yet. Let's take a peek at some of this other stuff. Well, I probably don't want to be this guy not making very much. Huh. What's the solid red line? Less than a high school diploma. Okie dokie. Well, let's see. High school. Okay. That's this blue, right? There we go. So what we're kind of saying here is, if we take a peek at this, man, oh man, just having your high school diploma puts you in a position where you're making about 25% more. This trend continues. Our green line here is some college or an associate's degree. So that'd be like your 2-year degree. Notice how much higher we're kind of gaining here. As you make your way up, what this tells us is more education oftentimes sets you up to earn more. And again, I'm not saying you have to go out and get a 4-year degree or a master's degree or a doctorate to be successful. That's not at all what I'm getting at. This is just statistics, and I wanted you to look at it and think about it for a second. One thing I will say is, I bet you that a lot of these people up here with the advanced degrees that did an awful lot of brain exercise, an awful lot of mental drills, maybe they're just making better decisions in their day-to-day life because they've honed that computer between their ears. Here's something else that I think was kind of cool. You earn, right? And you learn. And I think there's huge value for learning. If you're doing mental exercises to make your brain sharper, you're going to be able to dissect and digest and find and evaluate and critique information much, much better than someone who hasn't. So there is a value of learning. And a lot of times we use that value of learning to get some actual value of earning. So this is from U.S. News and Report, and I thought this was pretty interesting as well. I just wanted you to take a second and start thinking about the value of investing, because here's some things that I know. This chart tells you about how much money you'll make for you working for money. Or just think of this as like, this is you working for money. And here's a little secret. If you can get money working for money, or your money working for you versus you working for your money, it can make a substantial difference in how the remainder of your life pans out. So to have your money work for you, there's a couple things I think you got to do. You've got to save, and kind of equally as important, you've got to invest. So I'm not going to go through, I'm not a fiduciary, I'm not a financial advisor, but I like to look at information. And, I'd certainly be happy to talk to you about some of this stuff down the road. But this is just kind of throwing some things and see if anything sticks at you. Here we've got someone who decided to skip Starbucks. This is the example. In other words, they decided to invest $5 a day. So rather than going to get the large coffee or the Snickers bar or whatever, they decided to invest that money. And if we're taking a look at this, like I said, this is from U.S. News and Report. I think I threw in Google like investing now versus later charts, and that scrolled through some stuff and looked around. But I kind of like this one just because it had a lot on this one page. But looking at this, we've got somebody that just decided to invest their $5 a day. And you can see that I get this is a pretty long stretch of time. But just by foregoing that cup of coffee or that stop to the convenience store to just grab some snacks or whatever it is, if you take a peek at this, whoop, this person over the course of this graph was up over $800,000. That's a pretty substantial amount of money. So this was invested, okay? And I'll talk to you about the rate of returns later, or I'd encourage you to just kind of read through some of this. Just to, spoiler alert, they assumed a 7% annual return. That's pretty decent to plug in. This isn't like crazy scenarios. Just as this is recorded, the NASDAQ did like 44% last year. So that's crazy higher. You invest, sometimes you're going to get bigger. I also understand crashes can happen and things could get lower. But let's say you kind of take this to heart and you're like, you know what? I bet you rather than just that cup of coffee, I could probably invest my lunch money and my cup of coffee. So here's someone kind of taking the same assumptions, decided to invest their lunch and their cup of coffee, or this says $15 a day. And over the course of this graph, they've got over $2.5 million. So I want you to stop and think about that, because a lot of times when people, discuss millionaires, you think it's either someone who won a sports contract, or it's someone who won the lotto, or someone whose folks were well off. And I'm not saying that those things couldn't get you to be a millionaire, but I want you to be aware of the fact that if you're steady and you're consistent and you're smart, you can become a millionaire with just a little bit of discipline. I know the word discipline, it's a dirty word, right? Oh, it just means punishment. No, that's not what discipline means. Look it up. If you just stay the course with something, discipline is an awesome tool to have and exercise. So $15 there, right? Let's take a peek at some of these other things. Cash, that's awesome. Guess what? I don't drink coffee and, my mom packs my lunch. Okay, that's fine. So I'm not going to start investing until I'm older. Okay, that's also fine. But I'm going to give you a little hint. If you're trying to look for the perfect window to invest and you're waiting for it, you've missed it. I would make the argument that the best time to invest is right now, regardless of what you think the market's doing. And here, this kind of just showcases the value of investing earlier. So I'm not going to read all this to you, but I want to take a peek at this graph. It looks like Jack up at the top here. He decided to invest $200 a month, which, when you're sitting in high school, that might be a lot. Let's do the math on that. It's $50 a week. It's doable. But he decided to invest $200 a month, and he started at age 25. How did he wind up? Well, there's 500,000 or $500,000. This would be just this, not assuming that Jack wasn't saving anything else. Now let's jump down here to Jill. She's in the green here. Jill did the same thing. She was investing $200 a month, but she waited. She waited 10 years. So 35 is still young. I mean, I get that's a relative statement, but I'm telling you, man, 35 is still young. And what she wound up with was less than half of what Jack wound up with waiting those 10 years. And Joey, maybe, he thought that he had to take care of other things first or start a family earlier. Who knows what the scenario is. Decided to invest $200 a month. So same as Jack, same as Jill. And Joe decided to wait until he was 45 or for whatever circumstances, didn't start investing until he was 45. And if we take a peek here, he is substantially behind both Jill and Jack doing the same thing. So what's the big difference here? Time. I'm telling you, man, time, if you just sit in class or you sit wherever and you waste time, time is your most valuable asset. And I'm going to tell you something else. You scratch this entire screen, you erase everything, and you plug back in numbers where you've got $1 billion or whatever. You still can't buy time. Time is one of your most valuable assets, always. Let's take a peek at this. Here is the impact of when you start investing and then you stop. So I like this one because what this shows me here is if Jack invests $200, and notice the time frame here, from 25 to 35. So he did that for 10 years and then stopped. So he only invested from age 25 to 35 and stopped. And Jill decided to invest the exact same amount as Jack, but she started when he stopped and continued until the age of 65. So Jack invested for 10 years, Jill invested for 30 years. Now, if I were to tell you, hey, Jack and Jill are two investors, they both invested the same amount, and Jill invested 3 times as long. I mean, common sense would tell you, man, Jill should have a lot more money than Jack. She invested for 3 times longer. No, this is the important thing to get out of this. Jack started earlier. His 10 years started earlier. So that money that was just sitting there, guess what it was doing? It was working. His money was working for him. When Jack took a nap, when Jack took a dinner break, when Jack took a little, rest on his pillow, his money was working for him. That's awesome, and it's something you should be aware of. So here's something else. Oof. When your investments earn more money than you contribute. Oof, this is awesome, right? Check this out. Contributions, earnings. So your earnings are in green, and your contributions are what you plugged in, what you took from your paycheck to go into your savings. And if you look across the line here, this is the $200 investment, and the green is the earnings off those $200 investments. Take a look at over here towards the end, and it looks like about year 11. We've got your money earning more than what you're putting in. That's powerful. That's awesome. Your money can make money for you while you sleep, while you're on vacation, while you're doing whatever. Your money's working for you 24/7. It's like the ultimate employee. So let's scroll down here. The secret to financial freedom is investing over time. I think that's huge. Guess what? The secret to learning is learning over time. Keep on learning, keep on earning. So here we've got when your money makes more than you've saved. Whew, awesome. I'm not going to go through all the rest of these with you. I think you should. I think they're awesome, but kind of at a point where maybe you're interested in this, or you're like, goodness gracious, why do I want to talk about increasing my contributions when I'm just going to play scratch off tickets and sit and stare at cell phones all day? I kid. But again, this was from the U.S. News, and this was 9 charts showing you why you should invest today. I thought that was awesome. Maybe you want to just kind of fiddle around a little bit with some numbers and say, all right, well, Cash, let's see what's going on here. This is from NerdWallet, but if you put in like compound interest calculator, investment calculator, dozens and dozens of these things will show up. But it's kind of fun to sometimes think about, like, how could I get my money working for me? How can my money make me money while I don't have to work so hard? I don't know. Let's see here. Say you got $100 for your first day of school of your freshman year, and you're going to invest that at 4 years. And here we've got a rate of return of 10%, a little higher than what they usually plug in, but this is still a reasonable return. Beating markets, you should be higher than this, but that's not the conversation for today. I just thought this is something to kind of maybe monkey around with a little bit. Like, okay, well, if I had $100 that I started off with for my little fund, and then maybe here I want to monkey with how much I want to feed it with my contributions. So say you want to kick in, I don't know, another $25 a week, or we're going to say, all right, every month I'm going to plug in $100, and I'm going to do that for the span of high school. And if I got a 10% return, what the heck would that be like? Well, man, pretty good jump there, right? Now you're up over $6,000. So if you've got a job, and you're kicking in $25 a month, or excuse me, a week, $100 a month, this is here. Maybe you do start getting into investments. And you're like, Cash, I can crush this 10% return, man. I think I can probably do a 25% return. So this is the exact same scenario, but you've honed that ability to dissect data and collect good data, and you made better decisions with your money. And here, rather than a 10% return, we're going to say you found a way to get 25% returns. So then your $6,000 becomes almost rolling up on $9,000. This is something that maybe you'll find of interest as well. So I don't know. Here's what I really want you to get out of it. You got to take something. You got to take physics, right? You're here in the class. Awesome. Well, get something out of it, and how you get something out of it? Well, you get out of it what you put into it. Another thing to consider, school's not dumb. If you treat it as being dumb, that's what you're going to get out of it. And you won't make those gains. You might even go backwards. But if you show up to school and you treat it as like mental exercise, the better you get at those exercises, the better decisions you're going to make. And it's important to understand that you're a collection of your decisions. You make a bunch of good decisions, you're going to collectively be good. I want you to kind of also think about, as you get a little bit older, perhaps now, man, I would encourage you to start now. Save. More importantly, get that savings to invest so your money makes you money. If you got questions, concerns, please let me know. Till we meet again. Bye-bye.